Alafia, Abaru, Oboye, Obosheshe. Faith that all is well. I'll be your instructor today. Baba Kuafa Jacomoyuka. I want to take some time to speak about the cowrie shells. I want to take some time to speak about divination, okay? And I don't want to get into, the deep conversations because we get a lot of different questions about, the cowrie shells or divination in general, about do you have to be initiated to cast and different things. Understand that I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do or can and can't do, but understand there's traditional ways to do everything authentically and the right way. So that's just something to be understood. But cowrie shells seem to be at the brink of scratching the surface, so I just wanted to, you know, speak about it for a minute to show some different determinants and to speak about divination in general. So just to show you different meanings and different sectors of the different cultures have different belief systems when it comes to the numbers. Some people only go off 4, some people go off 8, some people go off 16. I even see people go off 21 and so on. So I just wanted to, take time to say that every culture or every different branch or tradition of these cultures kind of have a different understanding as far as the numbers. So I don't want to get into who's right and who's wrong. So I'll just, demonstrate the basics. So we have alafia, which you can consider this as a extreme yes, right? All facing up. Now understand in divination that any type of object that has a head or tail in the olden times, right? Back in the day, any object that had a head or tails was considered could be casted for determinants. So we're speaking about coins, heads and tails. We may be speaking about even you might see them cast bones, right? It can also be considered as far as mouth and stomach, right? The mouth and the stomach. Sometimes you'll see them cut open, and then sometimes you'll see the back on them, right? Either or is accepted, either or is used. So I just want to go through the breakdown of that, okay? So this is alafia. This is an extreme yes, right? Be careful of manipulation anytime divination is there. And as you grow deeper into divination, you will understand what I mean by manipulation. But this is a extreme yes. This is where the term alafia comes from. Okay. The next you have is ayefe. This is a balanced yes. This is the yes most of us was looking for. Okay. This is the yes that I don't need to ask again. I know what's here. I know what's going on. I know that the question that I ask is being answered authentically with a strong positive vibration and energy behind that answer. Okay. Now, understand the differences between alafia and ayefe. Alafia, for in some cases, we can say everyone's understanding is different, but in some cases, I have even myself have adopted the ideologies to a certain degree, but I have seen Babalaos um, go and consult again, even if they get alafia, because they don't want a um, once again manipulated answer. They don't want to quote unquote butter up the spirits or the oracle or the deity or the risha, whoever you are, quote unquote consulting to. So alafia, even though it is an extreme yes, we want a definite answer, not a manipulated answer. Okay, so sometimes you may see babalaos or diviners cast again, even though it was alafia, just to make sure. Okay, but like I say, we look for the balance yes, ayefe, and we know for sure. Agua. 3 up and 1 down. This is a maybe. This is when you throw again. This is when there could be confusion. There could be manipulation. There could be quote unquote fogginess or disturbance in the balance. Maybe you're asking the wrong question the wrong way. Okay? Now, when we get to the different understandings of what all of these terms is, once again, understand that different tribes and nations is different. So you may find some of these terms slightly different. Okay? Even when we start talking about divination, we find Dilagoons, we find cowrie shells even casted in ancient Kemet, not only in Yoruba land and Western Africa, but also in the Central Africa and Eastern Africa. We find cowrie shells being casted, and they have maybe different terms for them, and they have maybe different ideologies or slightly different language barriers, but initially it all means the same thing once it's casted. We have to understand, just speaking about Kemet, when we speak about Dahuti, or we speak about Thoth, that this energy was the energy of mathematical energy and mathematics in general. This was the energy of divination. So they spoke about divination all over Africa, to be for sure, and now we know all over the world, because we even see divination in Japan, divination in China, divination in Europe. We have even Nordic Iceland Vikings who had runes, right? We had pagans with these runes and different things like that. So we have to understand that the power of divination is all over the world. We have to understand that true divination is about the higher self. It's about not only communication to the higher deities, but ultimately your own consciousness, okay? Your own path. And it is believed and said that when you go and get any type of consultation, quote unquote, it's already written, okay? We hear this. It's already written. You're looking for pieces of yourself. So when it gets revealed, this is a moment of you finding yourself, you connecting and communicating with your higher self and higher spiritual path, okay? So we got to keep in mind of just the energy. And this is by my statement saying that is one of the oldest objects found in the world. When we start talking about the Athenians, when we start talking about bones, when we start talking about atas, rocks, and different seeds and shells, these have been here for thousands of years. Okay? These are boom boards, these are rucos, these opeles, these have been here. The obi, the coconut shells, the cocoa butter, the fun cascarilla, which is egg, or the old cascarilla, the old fun was made out of shells. When we start talking about red palm oil, when we start talking about honey, when we start talking about even alcohol or liquor like that, we're talking about objects that have been in existence for a very, very long time. Everything that we use is ancient, and it has an ancient understanding to the universe. And this is the energy, this is the spirit, this is the vibration that we pay homage to or believe in when we come to consult with divination. Okay? So, not to get too off balance, but it's agua, right? It's agua. This is a maybe. You should throw again. And if you get this again, and many people believe to not ask the same question. So never ask the same question twice. It is a saying that say you can cast obi, you can cast like Inyas, you can cast Cowries as much as you want, but never ask the same question twice. Okay? So then we have Okoran. Okoran, this is a flat node. And what do I mean by a flat no? Is just no extremities there, right? This is just a basic no, flat out. It ain't happening, right? This is no manipulation. This is Okoran. When you start understanding what Okoran means, we's talking about tribulations. We're talking about conflict. We're talking about barriers, and we have to concentrate, focus, and really have a schematic and a calculated pattern and maneuverability about ourselves to overcome these obstacles. And as here at Okoran Temple, we have a big understanding of what Okoran is trying to tell us, but this is just a flat no, a true understanding of it ain't gonna happen right now. Ashe? Next you have Oyiku, right? And if you remember in the Odu study group, we spoke about Oyiku, and what did we say? We said Oyiku was an understanding of Aigu, right? Was an understanding of death. That this is an absolute no. Possibly you need to throw it again as well. Ashe? But this is based on the different questions that you are consulting for. And this is why, people, like once again, people ask if you should be initiated, if you should do this, if you should do that. You need to be educated on what to do when you run into certain things. So we take all of these, Alafia, Ayefe, Ataraga, Okoran, Oyiku, and we understand that all of these is interchangeable. So really, if you have another hand here, right? We have Alafia and Alafia, right? Sometimes it can be Alafia, and let's just say Yife, right? And maybe, it could be a little bit confusion there. But once again, this is why it takes extreme time to understand what the different combinations could mean. And once again, different traditions do it differently. But when you really get to what Obi is, when you really get to what the divination and the African spiritual system is, you understand that there's 256 different markings, Odus, that you can get. Okay? So once you understand that it's 256 of these markings, then you understand why the mentorship program, as we're demonstrating now, is so important. This is why you understand that studying in the academy is so important. This is when you start understanding that just being part of the temple, no matter what's going on, even if whatever the case is, this is why studying the divination is important. Okay? So we got to understand the frequency that consecration is needed for these objects. It must be blessed and put through a ritualistic process to have that ashe on them. Whether it's obi or whether it's cowrie shells, that cowrie shells used to be currency back in the day, but just through so much different consecration of our human use and need and belief in it, we have created a divination tool. Okay? And we must understand that the blessings and ritualistic patterns for these items is very important. We speak about even if it's just the normal customs, right? So you will always have some water present, okay? You sprinkle the water onto and obviously I wasn't exactly casting at this point in time, so I didn't ask no question. I didn't go through the proper rituals, but you would sprinkle the water onto the cowrie shells, okay? You need a clean space. Maybe you want to put a aromatherapy, maybe an incense or frankincense or copal or dragon's blood or whatever that energy cleansing, saging element is into the air, into the room. You should be praying. You should be meditating. You should be clean. You should be cleansed yourself. You should not come at the. A lot of us believe, who are quote unquote babalaos, who are quote unquote priests and priestesses and ayanifas, or just in general practitioners. A lot of us believe that you should not even divine at any other period other than the morning, when the mind is fresh. after a shower, when the body is fresh, when you have fresh clothes on, when the area is cleansed, when the environment is cleansed and purified. Okay. So this is something that we must understand: having a clean space, having water around, understanding how to consecrate, understanding the different 256 different answers that you can possibly get. Okay. And a lot of people, as um, once we go through these different divinations, they ask all the time, "What's next?" Okay. And they ask, "Do I have to give ebo? Do I have to give the sacrifice they're speaking about? Do I have to give the offering that they're speaking about?" Well, understanding in just good faith of spiritual vibrations and energy, you kind of want to give that in honor and homage to the spirits for one. If you believe in it enough, if you understand it and spend to have a relationship with it, then that's definitely part of your aura by now. But I heard someone say that Ebo is a part of the reading, that the reading is a piece of a ritual. Okay? So when you come and you consult, whether you consider it as the Hudi, as I spoke about in Kemet, or in Ifa, which we say it is Arumala, right? Or Santeria, where you say it's Urula, or whatever you say is your divinational spirit or deity of your specific divination practice. What I will say is that this energy is about wisdom. This energy is about knowledge. Not only knowledge of the world and the universe, but of self. We say Orumala was sitting with Obatala as Obatala was crafting you inside your mother's womb. As Obatala was crafting you, as Oludumare was blessing you with your ori, we say that Orumala was sitting there with his notepad, jotting down the day you will be born into this world, the day you will fall in love, the day you get in your first fight, and the day you will die and return back. Okay? Everything is already written. So when we speak about giving, paying homage, giving a bow, we must understand that this is a ritualistic practice of us seeking out that notepad of our destiny, of our order. They say if the order is anywhere on the body, where is it? Okay? It's on the head. This is the map that is written on side the head. And would you not give an offering? Or would you not give a sacrifice? Or would you not give a token of gratitude to read that map of self? Okay? So when we speak about Ebo, and there's many different stories of why Ebo is very important. And we have covered this in the African Traditional Religion Academy of why Ebo and sacrifice is so important. Okay? But we must understand that there is many different complexities when we start speaking about divination in general. Not only cowrie shells or Athenians and Dafa readings and different things like that, okay? But just divination in general. And there's been so many different forms of divination, and I'm not going to be a picker or chooser saying one is better or one is not. But going back to my understanding is that compared to a tarot card that was printed inside a factory with other people's hands on it, put inside a cardboard box and shipped to a store for you to buy, or a pendulum that was created in a manufacturing company, is a lot different than Athenians. It's a lot different than cowrie shells. It's a lot different than thrown bones or Ibo, okay? A lot of different than Old Bailey, okay? So I just want to keep this in mind about where the true power lies on the true different forms of divination, okay? Crystal ball has to be manufactured most of the time, unless the quote-unquote witch or palm reader or priest or priestess knows how to craft things like that. But these objects that's more modern is more modern. They are more modified. They are manufactured, produced compared to nature producing items of you getting a understanding. Okay. But like I say, even to like coins and money or coconuts or cowrie shells, to the point in time, going back in the day, they believed as long as it has a mouth, as long as it had a stomach, or as long as it had um, a head and a tail, then you knew the right prayers and consecration, then you could eventually, divine for yourself. So I just want to go through that. So one of the major questions my goddaughter just asked before we started was about the men and the women when it comes to Ifa. When it comes to not exactly just Ifa, because once again all the traditions is different. We do not claim to have the ultimate truth, um, or the ultimate tongue. So what we have to say is not the only thing to say. So I can't exactly say that every tradition and practice believes the same thing when it comes to this belief. If men and women can divine in the same practice. A lot of people in certain cultures believe yes, and then others believe no. Okay, is women if women is not allowed to cast Aegeans, okay, and this is why when we start talking about the Patiki of Arumala and Osun, who were husband and wife, and Osun wanted to divine, right? She wanted to throw Aegeans. There's many different forms of this Padiki. In some forms, they say Orumala was busy. Orumala was out of the town when it happened. That she had spied on him, learned how to divine, and ran into a taboo. Because this is the cultures that people believe that the women are not supposed to divine with the Aegeans. When Osun consulted Orumala to say that she wanted to cast Aegeans, he said that's not part of the customs, it's not part of the culture. So in many different beliefs, they say that he constrained himself and he controlled his acts of creation, and he gave the cowrie shells to Osun, and this is how cowrie shells have got the understanding of being the woman's divination tool. Okay, but we have to understand that there is many different cultures in Asheshe or even in Santeria or in Ifa in general that as long as the intentions and agenda and the information in the culture and traditions is kept the right way, and you understand how to pass in the proper way, then a lot of different ilays and temples believe that it doesn't really matter, that women should be able to cast Ifa as well. So that's always an argument. I just want to be gentle about speaking about it, not putting in my belief system on it. But that is a conversation that's being had in the community, is whether the cowrie shells belongs to the women and only the Athenians belong to the men. Okay? But I believe once again that there's so complex and there's so many different temples and different forms of the tradition at this point that we just kind of have to have a respective understanding that other cultures, other branches of the culture, other ilays, other temples, other parts of the world may do it slightly different, and we have to kind of respect that as long as they are respecting the culture and tradition as well. Okay, so I don't want to linger too long. Faith that all is well and that you have retained something inside of your notes and you have learned something here, and go back and understand the different markings of what the cowrie shells mean. Now, if you deserve or you desire or you require further training on Obi, on cowrie shell, Erindilogun, or just Ifa, Dafa readings, working with the Athenians or even Ibo, um, we are accepting more people into teaching about reading. So either contact us on Patreon at the African Traditional Religion Academy, of course, or you can go ahead and contact us on our social media platforms. Okay. I want to take time to speak about this divination because, once again, true divination is a connection to the higher self. Not only higher deities, whether it's a resize or whether it's ancestors or a so-called saint or God, but ultimately the higher self and consciousness that you possess. The story was already written, families. I always tell people that divination is the biggest part of any spiritual practice. They used to say it was demonic and the devil, but we understand, of them being fearful of what fortune telling was back then and different things like that. Okay? Now, I don't want to get too deep into, those that history of that. But we understand that this is a connection to understanding your true destiny and eventually being the best person that you can ultimately be. I always say that people do a lot of praying, but they do no ebos. And the only way you know your ebo, if you go through divination and have a reading. Okay? So power's ultimate, families of Aru, Oboye, Obosheshe, faith that all is well.